Okay, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. I think we're going to get started. There's still some attendees joining, but we'll run through just a little introduction as to what we're going to talk about today and just give some details on the webinar. So I think today's webinar, we've got a very large and very varied audience. The main purpose is really to introduce how Everyone Print hybrid cloud platform works together with new Google Workspace offering and printing from Chromebooks. I think I'm aware on the call there are many people that either currently use Everyone Print Mobile and Google Cloud Print, or use HCP and Google Cloud Print to manage printing from Chromebooks. And today we're going to show you how we will manage that from day forward. So I'm Rashid Macklin. I'm based just outside London in the UK. I'm the Senior Product Manager for Everyone Print, looking after our hybrid cloud platform. The webinar, I think, is scheduled for an hour. It certainly won't take that long. And we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers. You can submit questions via the Zoom bar at any time. And I've just had the first question in terms of, will this be recorded? Yes, the meeting will be recorded, and the webinar will be available in our partner zone, and all of the attendees will also get a link to the webinar after the meeting, and also a link to the presentation. So I'm going to just run over a quick agenda, just a brief touch on Google Cloud Print and the imminent deprecation of that end of life. A brief introduction to our hybrid cloud platform, just a couple of minutes for those that aren't engaged with it, haven't seen it, wonder what it is. And then talk about the integration of hybrid cloud platform and Google Workspace and printing from Chromebooks. And then we'll run through a little demo, how the new extension can be installed, configured, how users will print. And then we'll run through any questions that are submitted during the meeting. So as I say, feel free to submit questions as we go along, and I will do my best to answer them all at the end. So I think many people are here because they are using Google Cloud Print at the moment, and at the end of the year, I think if you use Google Cloud Print, you will see there is an end of life notice for the 31st of December 2020. Everyone Print, we've worked with Google Cloud Print since 2013. It's interesting that the GCP is still in beta, but I think is one of the most widely used methods of printing, certainly from Chromebooks globally. And you know, we, as one of the first ISVs to integrate with Google Cloud Print, we have a huge install base globally on this platform. And we've been working very hard in consultation with Google to come up with a future way of printing that gives you a very easy way to seamlessly migrate and connect into both existing Everyone Print mobile installations and the integrations from there into other print management software, and also work with our cloud offering hybrid cloud platform. So we're going to really run through that. Google Workspace is the new branding for G Suite. Google relaunched and rebranded this offering very recently, and it really is their ecosystem for business, for enterprise, and enables all of their Google applications and benefits of using the Google Cloud Platform to be managed and run from one place. So a very brief introduction to HCP. This is our hybrid cloud platform. This product is something that was developed over the last 4 years, and is really, the primary objective is to optimize print infrastructure and move on-premise print infrastructure to the cloud and deliver printing as a service from the cloud. And we have many customers with us on this journey, and you know, we are very much leading the forefront in terms of technology for moving print to the cloud. And the main aims really are to reduce the IT admin and help desk workload by completely removing print servers, eliminating print driver management and print queue management, and giving a very, very simple way for users to connect their print infrastructure via the cloud across all of their sites very, very simply. And this is something that connects into all of your existing authentication providers and business applications. No need for a VPN or any advanced network infrastructure. Effectively, HCP operates across any network, gives a huge amount of flexibility across the organizations, and we can connect up disparate customer networks via HCP for print. And for the end users, it's something that I think you'll see we've continued with the extension that I'm going to present today. It's extremely simple. By removing the need for print drivers and print queues to be deployed to users' workstations, when they log into HCP at their side, they're just presented with the printers that are closest to them or that they're allowed to see for immediate print, no matter where they are. So for end users, a very simple, consistent experience. And for print release and delivering actual paper out of printers, we're completely vendor independent. We can print to essentially any device out there at the moment for direct print. And we have embedded clients for the majority of the major MFP vendors to allow you to implement secure print via the cloud. And just a quick note on how it can be architected. So we have a pure cloud serverless direct print that can be enabled. We have a hybrid model where customers may wish to run some services locally, such as document storage, or connect to an on-premise LDAP server and similar. So we can mix and match between cloud and hybrid using our HCP secondary gateways. We can have a completely pure cloud serverless secure print infrastructure with some vendors using embedded clients. And we can also enable HCP to be run in a customer's private cloud or a partner's or reseller's cloud to be able to deliver multi-tenant, multi-vendor, multi-customer offerings from a private cloud. And all this integrates with the possibility for traveling users and guest accounts to submit jobs via mobile or email or similar into HCP via the cloud. Very simple centralized administration web UI. It means that we can get customers connected, printers deployed, and users printing within minutes via our cloud. So it's a very, very flexible and very modern print infrastructure. And just to kind of note in terms of generally when you print from something and you print out to something. So the inputs that we take for print, we have both Windows and Mac. We can submit jobs via web, as you'll see today, via Chromebooks, via our Everyone Print mobile apps, via guest print, email print, or from external business systems such as SAP or similar for production print. Jobs are submitted via our cloud. The physical jobs can be architected to stay on the customer's network or travel through our cloud, and metadata is sent up to the cloud. Authentication services can be run against your existing providers, things like Azure, Azure AD, Okta, and from HCP version 3.10, the Google Authentication Suite. And that cloud service can be administered via a web UI from anywhere. And the outputs are direct print. You can release jobs securely using QR codes on printers. You can release jobs securely using our mobile app. You can release jobs securely using IP card readers. And we have a number of embedded clients for most of the major manufacturers to enable slightly more function feature rich secure print from a multitude of vendor devices. So going on really to I think the main topic of today, which is how is HCP going to work with Google Workspace and printing from Chromebooks. So as I say, Google Workspace is the new offering from Google, which is an integrated workspace that's really very straightforward to use. The devices can be managed very simply from Google Admin Console, as can browsers and full user management. And what we've done is extend our platform to be able to support Google Workspace, including authentication and printing from Chromebooks. And this kind of rounds the circle for HCP, because in addition to Windows, Mac, we can now add Chromebook to that list to enable users to be able to submit their job from pretty much any device that they will use in their corporate network, or within their education environment, or within government. So there's a number of ways that I think you can enable printing from Chromebooks. Google have a vast array of different things, from Google Apps and things like that. We, in consultation with Google, we decided the best route forward was a Chromebook extension. This is something that can be installed from the Chrome Web Store, or it can be pulled down and deployed centrally from your Google Admin Console. The extension, when installed, is displayed within your browser bar. You can pin extensions at the top here. Again, we'll run through this on the demonstration. And what this does is it allows a very simple configuration to be made to connect to your HCP account. And then through this extension, it will manage the printers that you are allowed to see. It will publish them for the user when they're logged in. And any updates made to printers will be reflected via this extension in terms of the published printers available on the end user's desktop. And these printers are configured in HCP via the web UI, and they can be direct print, or they can be secure print. Whatever print queues are created on HCP can be published for the end user depending on their permissions. As I say, the configuration can be made simply, so it's very, very easy to allow users to self-serve. And again, you'll see how easy that is when we run through the demo. Within the Google extension settings, there's a very simple configuration. And again, all of the options on managed devices and managed browsers can be set centrally from a Google Admin Console. And once configured, our extension will periodically check in and resynchronize available printers for the user. We have something called location-based printing in HCP, where you can specify, for instance, if you're in building A, printers 1, 2, and 3 will be visible. And if you're in building B, printers 4, 5, and 6 will be visible. This will automatically sync in the background for the end user. But as I say, when we run through the demo, you will see that you can also manually synchronize if needed. The other thing about this extension that I think is of interest to a lot of people is that it can not only connect to our HCP platform, but also can be used to connect to our Everyone Print mobile servers. So these are generally on-premise application servers running our Everyone Print mobile application. And to configure, again, we'll run through this in the demo, very, very straightforward. Once configured, the My Printers view that you see in Everyone Print mobile will be the printers that you have published for the end user. The extension is deployable from the Chrome Web Store, which again we'll run through on a demo. And for the end user experience, really, really straightforward. They hit Control P, they're presented with the print dialog, they can select their printer, and then they can go in and select their print options and hit print. So if this is deployed centrally on managed devices, literally the user would not have to do anything except hit Control P and be presented with their new printers. So it's very, very straightforward. very, very easy to use extension that gives really fully featured printing from Chromebooks, giving Chromebook users now the same wonderful user experience that HCP users get from our PC client on Mac or Windows PCs. For the administrator, it's again very, very simple. The print queues already available in HCP are published, and for end users, if they're already HCP users, they don't have to do anything. The administrator doesn't have to do anything. But all of those print queues and print options can be managed centrally from the web UI in the Everyone Print admin console. And then by utilizing this extension, all of the standard features that are available in HCP, such as the reporting, authentication, all of those things are available now immediately from printing from Chromebooks. So I'm going to jump straight into a demo, and we're going to, let me find the right window. Zoom tells me we've finished. We are going to just run through how to install, how to configure, and how to print. So the Everyone Print HCP extension will be available in the Chrome store. You can just click Add to Chrome, add the extension, and it's installed in a matter of seconds. What I tend to do is pin this to the extension bar so that the icon stays up here. To configure, we just click on the extension options, and if I connect to HCP first, I just type in my HCP account domain. I can test the connection. I hit save. Now that's it, I'm ready to print. So if I hit Control P, I get the Google Print dialog, and in destination, if I click See More, I see a list of all of my locally available printers, and I see all of the printers that are published via my HCP portal. That simple. I click on the printer I want to print to. I can change my options and hit print, and that's the print job submitted. And then it will either come out directly on the device if the print queue is configured that way, or it will be held securely until I authenticate at a printer and release the job. So extremely simple. If I want to connect to Everyone Print Mobile, I configure the extension in exactly the same way, but instead I put in the address of my Everyone Print Mobile server. Again, I'll just test the connection. And then when I hit print, in exactly the same way, when I click See More, I will see my printers that are available from Everyone Print Mobile. And again, I select a printer, I can choose my options, and I can hit print. And it really is that straightforward. So within, I don't know, under 30 seconds, you can install, configure, and print. So just to kind of summarize, this really gives fully featured printing from Chromebooks. You can add Chromebooks and extend HCP to Google Workspace printing immediately, and you get this extremely rich printing experience for the end user. Extremely simple. There's nothing really for the end user to have to do. If you want to, from an admin console point of view, if you add a new printer, it will automatically show up. If you remove a printer, it will no longer show up. That synchronization will take place in the background. The user does not have to add printers or manage any drivers or anything like that. And as you can see, the migration in terms of how quickly it is to get someone up and running is, I've written here minutes. I think probably seconds is is more truthful. So we've had 20 minutes. I think I'm going to open up for questions. So let me just go through the questions I've got. The first one was will this be recorded? So yes, you will get access to a recording via the webinar, via email afterwards, and also the webinar will be available in our partner zone. From Rudy, I've got, if an organization has multiple Google Workspaces but want to use one HCP environment, is that possible? So yes, within HCP, you can add multiple authentication providers. So if a user has 5 different Google Workspaces with 5 different authentication, sets of users for authentication by 5 different domains, they can be added into HCP under one account, and users will be able to log in and print across wherever they have access according to the access control. Dan's asked if I can get a copy of the slides after. Yes, the slides will be sent out, I think, with a post-webinar email. Tom has asked about finishing options when printing, e.g. stapling, booklet, etc. So at the moment, we are restricted to some of the options available via the Google Print dialog. So the API there allows us to enable certain options, and certain options aren't currently available. We will update our extension in line with kind of new developments from Google on that API. I think there are a number of things that they plan to migrate from Google Apps, etc. So as soon as the capability is there, we will add those options. Jules came back with a similar question in terms of finishing options. So I think I've covered that. Ben's asked if there's a minimum version of Everyone Print Mobile required. There is not currently in our testing. We haven't found any limitations. We use the standard Everyone Print Mobile API. That has the calls that we make to it have not been updated on the Everyone Print Mobile side. So in our testing so far, we've been able to connect to not the latest version. So at the moment, there are no known limitations on version of Everyone Print Mobile. Blake has asked, let me just read the question. Blake has asked around devices that are off-site or on remote sites, and when their IPs change, would they need to be set up at the site? Blake, essentially within HCP, you can add printers via the web UI. So if a new printer essentially goes to a new site with a new IP address, you can very quickly, again within a few seconds, add that printer as an HCP printer, and it will be available for printing to when the user hits print. If that printer they have permissions for and is connected to HCP, then they will be able to see it. Jos has asked, can the configuration be pre-configured in G Suite? So we've tested the deployment. So deployment can be done, and I'm just tidying up the documentation in terms of how to set the configuration centrally. The short answer is yes, it can be done. We just need to document and validate that. Because it's a very new extension in the Chrome Web Store, we haven't been able to fully document all of the deployment actions from Google Admin Console, but we're very much in process. And the server domain configuration will be able to be pre-configured from the Google Admin Console. Eric has asked pretty much the same question around configuration centrally. So yes, we will document that as soon as we can. Dave has asked if the jobs are held locally. So this is a very good question, Dave. So within our PC client, there are numerous ways to store print jobs when printing through HCP. We can store them in the cloud. We can store them on a secondary gateway or something within the customer's environment. And within PC client, we can store them on the actual PC, laptop, Mac, whatever. For the Chromebook extension, currently the options for storage available are within the HCP cloud or on a secondary gateway. This is because currently the Google API for extensions doesn't support direct printing. So we expect to see that again within Google Apps, that's available, but Google Apps are being deprecated, I think, by June of next year. So we expect to see that coming in an API update from Google, in which case we will extend our extension to be able to do that. But currently, print jobs can't be held locally on the device and delivered directly to the printer. Morton's also asked around extension configuration, which I think I've covered. Gianfranco has asked if the trigger functionality is still available when printing from Chromebooks. So yes, Gianfranco, any triggers that you have set up within HCP, so for those that aren't aware, triggers are effectively rules. So we can trigger an action, like if a print comes, convert it to black and white, those kind of things. They're managed via centrally in HCP, and jobs are submitted via HCP in the same way. So any triggers that have been configured or that you need to configure will still be applicable to print jobs. Dave has asked, how unique is this within competitors? I think you'd have seen over the last, I guess, 12 months since Google announced the deprecation of Google Cloud Print, there are lots of different offerings from different software vendors to address printing from Chromebooks. There are, as I said, numerous ways to do it, and we discussed with an engineering team and a team at Google in terms of what they felt would be the right way to do it. Because some of the ways of doing it, as I say, some of our competitors use things like Google Apps, which over the next 6 months will be discontinued. And when Google discontinues something, they really discontinue it. So certainly in terms of Chromebook extensions, it has longevity, it has flexibility, and it's Google's, from our discussions, their preferred way of managing these kind of applications for browsers and for Chromebooks. But in terms of uniqueness, yeah, I think we have a very, very simple, straightforward way to do it, and combined with HCP, I think the experience is pretty unique. Marco has asked, will we have the job owner name and document name in the follow UQ and the generic user for all jobs? So Marco, the job owner name is the logged in user, so the user submitting the jobs. There's no generic user for all jobs. So it's tied to an authentication provider. If the user has credentials for HCP, then they can submit jobs. If they don't, then they can't. And in terms of the document name in the follow UQ, much like in HCP, the document name is there in the pending jobs, which only administrators can see, and it works very exactly the same way that we work with the PC client in terms of job submission. Alfonso has asked, is there any special configuration for the Google Workspace inside the HCP web UI? There's no special configuration inside HCP. If you have an existing HCP installation and, for instance, your users authenticate against Azure or Azure AD, or you have local users or Okta, if the user is already present in HCP, they just need to install the extension, and the user that they're signed into their browser or Chromebook with, we check the email address against existing auth providers in HCP. If they're present, then you just hit print. So I think if you saw during the demo, I didn't do any special configuration in HCP. My email address is tied to my user that's already in HCP. So there's no special configuration. Yorni's asked around finishing options. Again, I think I've covered that in terms of we need some additional stuff from Google APIs to be able to enable additional finishing options, but I think we have pretty much most covered in terms of simplex, duplex, color, copies, etc. It's really only advanced stuff like stapling and punching and folding. Again, we will update as we move forward. Christoph has asked if there's any cost for the extension. No, the extension can be downloaded for free, can be installed for free. As long as you have a valid HCP license. If you don't, then the extension is kind of worthless. But the extension can be installed on as many devices as you have users, and can connect to your current licensed devices that you have in HCP. Daniel's asked around G Suite authentication. So yeah, Google authentication is included from HCP version 3.10, which will be released next week. And then Julian's asked what version of EOP is needed for this. It will work currently today with existing HCP, so long as the user's present. If you want to do authentication against Google, then you'll need to wait for HCP 3.10. But if you have local users or existing auth providers, then you could use this straight away. Kelly's asked, when is email and web print going to be included in HCP? So we have some plans to migrate some of the functionality from Everyone Print Mobile into HCP. It's not fully scheduled, so I don't really want to commit to a date, but it is certainly a strategic plan of ours to migrate all of the Everyone Print Mobile functionality, such as web print and email print, into HCP in the future. Murat asked around when will 3.10 be available of HCP. We plan to update the cloud servers very early next week, so by this time next week, certainly you will have access to it. Someone's asked around Chrome Print with EOP and Equitrack integration. So Everyone Print Mobile has connectivity into a number of third-party print management software, and that configuration maintained. So effectively, using the extension, you can submit jobs via your Everyone Print Mobile server into whatever print queue that may be. So if it's submitting, in this case from the question, into Equitrack, then that's standard Everyone Print Mobile functionality. The main aim of the extension is to be able to get jobs into HCP or Everyone Print Mobile, and so therefore any integration with existing print management software will work with the Chromebook extension. But yeah, asked, does the mobile print Everyone Print Mobile server need to be available from the internet? Yeah, so we connect to via the Everyone Print Mobile address and a port. So in general, yes. But if you're on premise, then you can connect, if you're submitting jobs from the same network. So long as the Chromebook can see the Everyone Print mobile server, then you'll be able to submit jobs. Can you print when you are away from the office and pick it up later? From Jim. So yeah, so long as you can connect to the cloud server, so that's one of the beauties of HCP. You can be anywhere, and so long as you can connect to your account, the account domain that we put into the extension, which is in the cloud, in the public cloud, then yes, you can submit jobs from anywhere and then pick them up when you get back to the office. Don has asked, can you set the extension to log in to HCP using locally logged in user cached window creds? Don, I think the answer to that is really from a Chromebook, you have to be logged in using a valid account. So once you're logged into your Chromebook, we use those credentials that you're logged in with. So you don't have to re-authenticate. If I just go back in here, the logged in user this is a browser, but it's the same in a Chromebook. This is my logged in user. When I log into my Chromebook, I have to log in with a user, and then we use this logged in user and their email address to validate against HCP whether they have an account and whether they're allowed to access HCP. Jim has asked, can you print from a mobile phone? I think that the best answer to that really is yes, but the easiest way to do that is with the Everyone Print mobile app. I'm not sure that extensions work particularly well from browsers on mobile apps, but technically speaking, if you can install an extension on a Chrome browser on a mobile phone, then you'd be able to submit jobs. But I think the user experience is probably a lot nicer doing it using the Everyone Print mobile application. Nora's asked if there's any differences in setting up the print function on managed or non-managed devices. I'm not sure I fully understand the question, but again, from the extension side, this is about submitting jobs into HCP. From setting up your devices in HCP, that's all done centrally. Maybe, Nor, I'll contact you after to try and maybe understand the question a little better. David has asked if it's possible to configure the default driver options. I think, again, within the Google Print dialog, print options, I don't think you can set defaults, but what it will do is whatever the last settings you used will be kept and held and used the next time that you go to print. So I can look into that. I'm not sure there is in fact, there's possibly a way to do it from the Google Admin Console, but I probably need to come back and validate on that one. Wow, lots of questions. So I've also asked, when will the extension be available in the Chrome Web Store? My marketing team will tell me off, but we're making all of the announcements tomorrow. But if you were to go to the Chrome Web Store today and search for Everyone Print, I think you'd find it. We have some updates pending in terms of marketing materials, but yeah, the go live is tomorrow. But those of you that are on this call, if you want to go to the Chrome Web Store and grab the extension, it's kind of available. Someone has asked if it requires a gateway using the Google extension. So that's an interesting question. As the gateway is dependent on the customer infrastructure and architecture. So let me just go back to this architecture here. So submitting jobs to HCP, if we have secure print via completely serverless model, we have a couple of vendors that can do this, then there's no gateway required. The job will go from the user's Chromebook into the cloud, held securely in the cloud, released at the device, which can be connected directly to the cloud securely. That can also be done with IP card readers where no gateway is required. However, if you want to do direct printing to a printer, the job will go through the cloud and has to come back into the printer. Now, generally, most customers won't expose printers to the internet. So a gateway, a secondary gateway, is generally required for that use case within the customer network. Again, very simple edge device, effectively a black box that can actually deliver jobs from the cloud to the printer. And that's generally around the constraints of customers' network and security. So no, you don't need a gateway, but in some cases you do. Alfonso has asked, in the demo we can't see the user sync login as in PC client. I just inserted the address and that's it. So yeah, Alfonso, I think as I tried to explain here, what we do is we use the logged in user on the Chromebook, and we use the email address, and we check against HCP, against the existing authentication providers, if that user exists. And if they do, say for instance, you have an Azure AD, then we validate that the user is still active in that Azure AD, and we then enable the publishing of their printers and them to be able to submit print jobs. If the user is not known, then the sync wouldn't work. And if the user is, for instance, a Google authenticated user that has not yet logged into HCP or doesn't have credentials in HCP, what we will do is we'll take that email address, we'll take a token from the browser, and we will map that against the Google ID provider. And again, if the user's authenticated, then they will be able to log in. Another anonymous attendee, when will Google SSO be ready in HCP? I think you mean to sign into the web UI. That's something that's in the very near future roadmap. Ahmet's asked if the connection is standard encrypted with SSL. Yeah, so we use, by default, we use HTTPS using SSL with TLS 1.3 encryption for delivering jobs. So standard secure connection is what is by default. Alfonso's asked, if I use LDAP or Azure to authenticate users, how can I use that same account with the Google account? You would just log into your Chrome browser with your Azure account, or you have the user created in Azure with the email address. So this isn't, I've logged in here with my Everyone Print account. We have multiple authentication providers, but our core business one is not Google. So this is me logging in with just my email address. So it's all around the account that you use to log in to your Chromebook or browser. Tom has asked, do I need an upgrade from EOP Mobile to print with Chromebooks? I think the answer to that is no, it should work today. George has asked something around a demo and a proof of concept. George, what we'll do is we'll come back to you. I'll get one of the solutions consultants to give you a call and understand what it is you need to do and how we can get that demo up and running. Murat's asked if we have a white paper. Not currently, Murat, but it's all documented in our manual, which will be published with 3.10. And if you've got questions or requirements that you want understood, please feel free to reach out and contact us. Hakan has asked, where will Everyone Print Mobile store jobs? So if I go back to this one, for Chromebook printing, job storage can be enabled securely in the cloud or on a secondary gateway within the customer's network. And those are the two options currently. As I say, when Google APIs get updated a little more, then we will be able to, hopefully, as we do with PC client and Mac, store the jobs locally on the Chromebook. Yours has asked, is silent installation and configuration supported? So you can deploy centrally from Google Admin Console. We still have to document how to do the central configuration, but deployment to managed devices is pretty straightforward, or managed browsers from the Google Admin Console. And it's pretty well documented in the Google side for users using Google Admin Console. If not, then you kind of need to run the Google admin tools to be able to manage the Chromebooks and extensions. So that's why we've also enabled the self-service option. Raw has asked about standalone Chromebooks. So yeah, those standalone Chromebooks, so long as, again, going back to the key thing, the user is in HCP and the user they're logged into that Chromebook with has credentials to be able to log into HCP and retrieve their printers, etc., then standalone Chromebooks are absolutely fine. Standalone Chromebooks won't allow you to do, obviously, central configuration and management from the Google Admin Console. But as you saw from the self-service, it's download the extension, paste in your address. Eric's asked around finishing. I feel like I've covered that a couple of times. Jules has asked around embedded scanning options for scanning to Google Drive. This is something that we're looking at what we can do on different platforms. So I think, Jules, I'll probably come back to you outside of this call to discuss that. Stefan has asked for authentication of the print job on Windows clients. Is the user used that is logged into Chrome when printing? So on the Windows clients, let me just try and comprehend this. So I maybe I misunderstand, Stefan, but I think the way I read the question is the logged in user, the Google account that's logged into Chrome when printing, used for authentication on the Windows clients. So if it's the same account, then yes, but PC client has its own login method, whether it's client-based or UPN or session and domain name or custom login. And if you're running a Windows PC, I expect the experience from the PC client is gives you printing from all applications, whereas if you were to just use printing from Chrome using the Chromebook extension on a Windows PC, you would only be able to print from web applications that you have open in Chrome. So again, maybe I'm misunderstanding the use case. Happy to clarify afterwards. Rob Jacobs has asked, can you use the extension as a guest without having an account in HCP? The answer is no. You need to have credentials to access HCP. Otherwise, anyone could submit a print job to any customer. So you need to be a valid user. There are options for guest printing that are available to use with HCP. And if you have, for instance, a guest account set up in HCP for a user that can be set up, very easily by an admin or a reception, then the user would be able to connect with their Chromebook until that account is disabled. So you could create a local user, but there must be a valid user that has rights present in HCP to be able to connect and print. Roy's asked, can you use local HCP users? Answer is yes. Wow, these questions just keep going. Is HTTP required, or can it be used with existing legacy versions from Yele? You can use it with HCP, or you can use it with existing Everyone Print Mobile. Again, I think I ran through that in the demo and in the slides. We'll have it documented how to do that, but again, very, very simple. Stephen has asked, how do I set up the managed distribution to include our domain name? Yeah, so that's around the configuration. We will document that over the coming days. I've only just had access to being able to push the client from Google Admin Console because it needed to be in the web store. So we have a little work to do on that, but that's very much in scope. Julian has asked, does it need to connect to the EOP mobile gateway service or the EOP web service? It connects via the mobile service at the moment. Actually, okay, let me come back. Rob has asked, where is the API key used for the extension? So good spot, Rob. You can secure the extension options with an API key. This is an API key that you create within your account in HCP. So it's account specific and can be created by user, by domain. You can have multiple API keys. So in addition to authentication and the secure connection, you can also add an additional layer of security using an API key. I think Stephen's asked a similar question to one I think I've already answered. And lots of people seem to have downloaded and installed it, which is great. Jim has made an interesting offer. We'll come back and certainly discuss that with you. Muath has asked, will a Chromebook user sync with a local HCP? Yes. You can create a local user very easily in HCP with the email address that you're logged into your Chrome browser with, and that will sync. Bruno has asked if there's a file size limit to print through the cloud. There's no reasonable limit. Obviously, it depends on bandwidth. We have ways of submitting jobs and transferring jobs that can chunk them out, and we have very good communication. So technically, there's no limit, but obviously, there's always bandwidth considerations. But we have many users that are using pure cloud printing large print jobs through the cloud, and performance is very good. Bear with me one sec. I'm just trying to read even more questions. Jean-Francois has asked, what about quotas in the roadmap? So we'll probably have a different discussion around roadmap. Currently, we have a number of things that we're investigating and trying to schedule. Quotas is a discussion that we have many times internally and with customers. So we'll keep you informed, and maybe on the next roadmap presentation we can discuss that. Paul's asked around backend setup for the Chromebook printing. Really, the only additional thing on the back end is around adding an authentication provider for Google. This is done really in exactly the same way that you would add a client-based authentication provider for Microsoft Azure or ADFS. We configure the name of the authentication provider, we configure the domain. For retrieving groups and syncing groups from Google, there is what Google call an impersonated admin account. Effectively, it's a service account with limited scopes. This is the way Google recommend doing it. So you can input a client secret in there, and it's documented in the next release pool, but really straightforward. The only thing, if you want to add Google authentication, that's an additional ID provider. But in terms of printing to an existing HCP account, you can just install the extension, enter the account domain name, and users will be able to submit jobs straight away from Chromebook or from a Chrome OS or from a Chrome browser. Additionally, probably I'm surprised no one's asked it because I got asked this before. Microsoft Edge is a Chromium browser, and the extension, we've done some very brief testing. It works again from Microsoft Edge. I don't really see the use case of installing on Edge, but it is available as an extension that can be installed on Microsoft Edge. And again, once we've gone through our full QA, we'll document how that's done and if there are any limitations. So I think I've got through all of the questions. Apologies if I've missed anything. There's like 66 questions in here. I will export them and run through them and try and pick up anything that I've missed. But aside from that, if there are no more questions coming in, and there was a lot of questions, so it's really good. It's really nice to hear you all engaged. If there's no more questions, then I will end the session.